Hey everybody, Sinister Lex here. Today we're answering a question I got by email. I don't know, this isn't any of my normal stuff, but I got a question by email and I thought it seemed like a good topic. Whoa, was that double chin? Yikes, I need to do a little bit more running. I got out for 1.5 miles this morning, but I'm gonna do even more running. I usually, like 1.5 miles is really short for me. I never go 1.5 miles. I go 2 miles minimum, just because that was always the Army standard. Anyway, that double chin is gonna be getting out of here. I'm gonna have to do something about that. Yikes, that's too much sitting on my ass, writing copy. Anyway, got a question by email, which is concerning, it's something that most of you are gonna face at some point. If you're a freelancer, especially if you're a freelancer, or if you're just a general copywriter or something like that, you're gonna be facing this particular issue. So I'm gonna flip over so I can read the question and make sure I'm not missing anything. Here's what the question was. Hey Lex, I was wondering how you go about negotiating prices with clients who come back to you with more work. I asked this because I did this job for someone on Upwork for only $5 and over-delivered. My client was so happy with the work, he came back with more requests, which is great, but the problem was he expected me to still work for slave wages. So he was blown away when I told him how much money I thought I deserved. Do you have any advice on what to do in this situation? Let the client go or negotiate, and if you do try to negotiate, how do you do it? Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. You guys are going to be starting at $5 an hour rates or whatever, maybe even less. I don't even know if you can start at less than $5 an hour. You're going to go in and you're going to deliver for this client. Just like I did with my new Upwork profile, I went in, $5 an hour got me that Shark Tank client, and I was in there over-delivering so that I could, hopefully get more work in the future. That's kind of what we do. And because you go in with these crazy, insane rates, it blows people away when you over-deliver. They're like, what the hell? And when they come back to you, you obviously want to bump them up to higher rates. Now, one thing that's interesting about this question is it says the client was blown away when I told him how much I thought I deserved. So I'm going to tell you how I approach this, and there's a couple of different situations here. Whenever you're dealing with these clients, to me, whenever I go into this, I'm always considering how important is this client to me? How valuable is he to me? Can I afford to lose this client? And that's really the bottom line. That's what you have to ask anytime you get into these client negotiations, because you never know. And once you put it out there, once you put that price out there, once you say whatever you're gonna say, it's out there. There's no going back. There's no taking it back, guys. So you have to be ready to lose that client or do what it takes to keep that client. That's like your only two options. Either you risk losing them or you do what it takes to keep them without that risk. There's comfort and there's discomfort, and that is the only options that you really have. So if it were me, if I were in this situation, well, I guess first of all, I would have to ask, how valuable is this client to me? What is their level? If it was my Shark Tank client, I would probably keep on working at $5 an hour for them just because of the potential of what they bring to the table. They are very valuable to me in a sense because of their connections. That's where the value, like I'm pricing my stuff at a certain rate, but I'm also considering the value that they bring. So it's not just my value that I bring, but what do they bring? If this was someone, let's say it was your uncle. Your uncle owns a business and you wrote $5 copy for him, and a month later you're charging 20 bucks an hour, and now he wants to come back for more copy and he's expecting those lower rates. What do? Your uncle might not be someone, that might be a cost you want to eat because it's your uncle. Unless you don't like your uncle, he's a jackass, then maybe you tell him, it's going to be $50 an hour even though you're only charging $20 an hour. I don't know. But if it was my uncle, I'd probably just eat it, I'd either eat it or I would say, look, I really don't think I can do it right now. I don't think I can fit it into my schedule. I maybe can help you find somebody else who can maybe write that for you. I just don't think I can do it right now. So I would either turn them down nicely, or I would eat the cost and just do it at $5 an hour. But if it's going to be like an ongoing thing, there's no way. I would not do that. If it's an ongoing thing, I would not eat the cost. I would find it better to just turn them away. Now, if it is someone on Upwork, I just met this client, they're not really that valuable to me, it was just, I took the gig to get fast feedback, and I'm okay with working with them more in the future, but there is going to be higher rates. So that's pretty much a given if you're working on Upwork. Clients should expect that. If they don't expect that, well, they're just going to have to get used to it. So no client is usually so important that I won't risk them. You guys already know that from my past clients. I've had some big clients and I threw away some big freaking money risking everything with those clients. And sometimes it paid off, sometimes it didn't. But I'm willing to take those risks. I think that's how you get into the zone, you know, like get into that zone of taking the risk and find out what works for you is just to take those risks, even if sometimes the reward doesn't pay off. So this particular client, you know, you're asking how you would negotiate that. If I were coming into the negotiations, here's what I've done in the past. I've got a client at $5 an hour. I say, okay, you really liked what I wrote before. We already agree on that. You know, that's something we can agree on. You like what I wrote. I don't have to say all that, but I'm just like, you like what I wrote, and you want me to write some more. Normally, my rates outside of Upwork are, you know, $300 for a product description. So, but since I'm on Upwork, this is a different place. Since we're on Upwork, I'm willing to give you my current Upwork rates, which is $50 an hour. You could do something like that. You know, I would want to position my actual rates high so that I can come down. I can concede to a lower rate of like $50 an hour. And then that kind of takes the steam off. Even though it's a big jump for them, they understand. But I'm also going to mention other things. You know, I'm really busy. I've got a lot of work coming in. I have a lot of clients. I have constant offers. And to me, this isn't perceived value from my end. It's not what I think I deserve. It's not what I think I deserve. It's supply and demand. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Supply and demand. There's one of me, and there's many people asking me to write copy for them at any given time. So supply and demand dictates that I charge higher prices because all these people want me. If 10 people want me, I can charge a lot more than if one person wants me. If one person wants me, I just have to work with that guy because that's all I got. So if you want to raise the price on these guys, upsell them, then that's kind of what you got to do. You just got to be willing to pitch it. That's like, I can tell you all these strategies about negotiation. I can say, you know, start with this high number out here and then concede to a lower number, and that's all great. But if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. If they're the kind of person who's not going to pay you what you're worth, and you can prove, you know, you don't even really have to prove it that much all the time. I mean, just, let me put it like this. If you know what you're worth, it's not what you think you deserve, not what you think you deserve, not what you think you're worth, but you know what you're worth, then it's a take it or leave it situation. You put it out there, and either they take it or they leave it. And if they leave it, so what? You've got other clients. If you're worried about it, then just go with it, you know? Just work with them. See what they've got. Like, here's another way. Let me put it like this. Fuck, man, I'm all over the place with this one. If I didn't want to do that, if I didn't want to have a huge risk where I'm like trying to upsell them to $20 an hour or something, a big rate, one thing I've done in the past that's worked is like the client comes to me, we've already worked at a low rate, and then I'm like, okay, I'll do it for that price again this time, and the next one will bump it up to a higher rate. So if you still like my writing, if you still want to work with me after this one, then it's going to be this rate. That way, you're still giving them value, you're still giving them the rate they already had, and then that gives them an out. It gives them after this, you can choose that. So if you still need copywriting right now, we'll do it, and then after it, we can work on a way out. Another option you might consider, this one I used early on, is asking for a fixed rate. So instead of charging an hourly rate or something, you know, whenever you bump that price up, say, okay, if you need ongoing copy, it's going to be this much per month. It's going to be a fixed rate per month. Or for every project you do, it's going to be this X amount. And that's going to be a flat fee whether you send less work or you send more work. That would be one way to add value, you know, because that way, if they send less work, you still get paid that same rate. If they send more work, yeah, you're going to do a little more work, but you get paid that rate, and it's still higher than what you're making right now. I don't know. Those are just some strategies I've used in the past. Let me know what you guys think. What strategies have you used for upselling? What have you found works for you? In the end, I think it's all a matter of using what's actually working for you, but the only way to find out what works for you, what people will accept and won't accept, is to put it out there. One of my first experiences was working for a leading sex toy company in Canada. And don't look at my smile. It was fun writing about the freaking animal tail butt plugs. I don't care what anybody says. That stuff's crazy. Anyway, I started upselling these guys. You know, as I got in at like $20 an hour or something when I first started, 26, somewhere around there. And then I started having more and more clients reaching out to me. Now, all of a sudden, I had clients willing to pay me $50 an hour and $100 an hour. And this happened very quickly. This all happened within the course of about 2 weeks. And over that time, I upsold the clients, first starting to $30 an hour. And they were willing to bend a little bit. But after that, when I tried to take them up to $50 an hour, they didn't like it, and we ended up not working together anymore. Why? Because on my part, it was a matter of, are they so valuable that I can't afford to lose them? Well, to me, they weren't. I had $50 an hour clients and I had $100 an hour clients, so the $25 an hour client didn't make sense for me anymore. They weren't paying enough to make it worth it for me. And I wasn't worth it for them for whatever reason. You know, they just didn't have the money or they couldn't do it. You know, it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to do it. You have to risk it. And sometimes I've risked it like that and they were like, okay, we'll pay you that. And then I went forward and I had that payment. So if you can do that, that's great too. But the only way you're gonna know is to put it out there and just to see what works. So you can use all the different strategies. I mean, in the end, you just have to be nice about it. Be nice, be honest, assess whether or not you can afford to lose that person. The one who cares the least is the one who wins in the end. That's how negotiations work. If you care the least about losing that client, then you win. Because no matter what happens, the worst thing that can happen is you come away without a client. But then you've got another client and another client and that client, and it doesn't really matter. You didn't actually risk anything at all because you had clients coming in the whole time. So if your whole life is centered on this is the pivotal moment in your life. If you don't have this client, then everything is going to freaking crumble around you. Then you better give them what they want, or at least find some way to make it valuable for them. So there's a number of ways you can do that. You can work together. Maybe you can work, if they're like a startup app or something, maybe you could take a commission on the profits, you know, a percentage of the company or something. Maybe you could work out a deal like that, a structured deal. Or you give them a flat fee like we talked about before. Or you give them the price they want this time, but then with an agreement that you're going to bump it up next time. Just stuff like that. Just think of different pricing options that you guys can use. That would be my suggestion to answer that question. I really hope that this does answer that for you, and for anyone else out there who's pondering that, wondering about it, considering it. The only way to find out what's going to happen and the only way to get those higher prices is to be willing to take those risks and put it out there. Until you do that, you're not going to have a shot either way. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. The times you win feels really good because you usually win really big, and that's freaking awesome. That's all I got for this one, guys. Subscribe down below if you want to see more. I got to stop doing this with my hands when I'm talking on these things. It drives me nuts. I see myself doing it anyway. If you guys want to see more, I don't know, just come back the next time I make a video, okay? I'm Sinister Lex. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.